And finally tonight, if you were anywhere near central London this weekend, you could not have missed the colour, joy and sheer sparkle of this year's Pride Parade. All the more significant as it's 50 years since the Stonewall riots in New York, when the gay community fought back against police harassment. More than 1 million people were in the capital on Saturday. We were there too. Our correspondent Simon Harris spoke to some of those behind the parade.
50 years ago, a small disturbance in Christopher Street in Greenwich Village in New York gave birth to a movement which led to this. This is the Pride in London Parade 2019. And you are dressed as?
Madge the Second, of course. I went to New York last week to reclaim the United States for the United Kingdom.
That was for World Pride,
yes,
which of course also celebrated 50 years of
Stonewall. That's correct, yes, as well.
So I'm guessing this is their first Pride?
Yeah, this is their first Pride, yeah. Her second, but their first.
And you managed to get the fan in place to cool them off?
Oh yeah, definitely. To keep them cool would be nice.
So what made you bring them?
I'm proud of the fire brigade, proud of what I'm doing, proud of being gay, so thought I'd bring my boys along as well.
Hello.
Hello, you're right.
How are you, Bobby?
I'm really good, thank you. So earlier this week I was in Parliament, so I've had my debate. I'm trying to change the law with Bobby's bill. But yeah, really exciting times, really positive, and such an amazing atmosphere today.
I'm joined now by Jake and Hannah Graff, who are very high-profile members of the LGBTQI+ community. What does Pride mean to you two?
Pride is about visibility, it's about not being ashamed to walk down the street, holding my beautiful wife's hand, and it's about being proud to be trans.
We're the Proud Lily Whites, the official Tottenham Hotspur LGBT group. We've got members around the world, but today we've got 40 of our London members here.
And you're not the only club here?
No, we're not. The others are here, but we're the best.
Secretary of State, hello. Pride, you having a good time?
It's amazing. I'm so proud of all these people behind me. They're what the nation represents, and I'm very proud to be marching with them.
Very good atmosphere. It's all about, obviously, enjoying it and respecting the cultures, and that's what it's all about.
We're enjoying this now. I'm from Uganda, and we're enjoying my day.
Happy Pride!
Turning to politics now, and in just 2 hours' time, the only head-to-head debate begins between the two candidates vying to become Tory leader and the next Prime Minister. They are, of course, former Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, and Surrey MP Jeremy Hunt. Both are in Salford for tonight's ITV debate. Well, our political correspondent Simon Harris reports on what could be a crucial night in the contest.
He knows it's make or break time. Boris Johnson, pen in mouth, headed for his helicopter and an hour of television which could go one of two ways. How he performs tonight could hand him the keys to number 10 or damage his dream beyond repair. Gitto Harry was one of his closest advisors at City Hall and thinks his time as Mayor of London has equipped him well for tonight's debate.
He's so battle-hardened in terms of being grilled and interrogated that he should find it relatively comfortable.
What's his Achilles heel?
I think the temptation to entertain can mean that he wants to say something more impactful than perhaps is wise at this point.
Hey! But what of the underdog in this contest? Jeremy Hunt, Foreign Secretary and MP for South West Surrey. His supporters are convinced he can close the gap.
It's regrettable that Boris has avoided doing any head-to-head debates, and tonight is the big chance for Jeremy Hunt to show what he can do.
Mr. Johnson and Mr. Hunt will be on stage for 60 minutes under the glare of the cameras and the hot lights of the TV studio. This is a talent show like no other.
We've seen them being interviewed separately before at length and in different scenarios, but we haven't actually seen them eyeball each other. And I think there is something unique about the pressure of a live television studio that really brings out something a little different. They are really under pressure.
It's what I want.
As front-runner, it's Boris Johnson's to lose.
Well, you know, it's never over till it's over, and we're fighting for every vote. That's probably the most reasonable thing to say, fighting for every vote.
The history of elections 2015, 2016, 2017 is surprises. And we have started by saying that we're going to turn a coronation into a contest. Now we're going to turn a contest into an upset.
When he was Mayor of London, the bike was Boris Johnson's preferred way of getting about. That simple pleasure is no longer an option for a politician who 2 weeks tomorrow could be Prime Minister, assuming he doesn't blow it big time tonight.
Well, Simon is at Downing Street for us tonight. Simon, one of those candidates will be getting the keys to number 10. How much of an impact could tonight's debate still have on those yet to cast their vote?
Lucrezia, it's true that some, if not many, of the estimated 180,000 Conservative Party members who are eligible to vote have already filled in their ballot papers. But Jeremy Hunt's team has been urging members of the party to hold back until after they've seen tonight's debate. Now, hoping that their man might outshine Boris Johnson is perhaps wishful thinking on their part, but it's entirely possible Boris Johnson could be tripped up by a line of questioning or could trip himself up. These debates can be unpredictable. Remember the very first televised leaders' debate before the 2010 general election? Nick Clegg emerged as a surprise winner. So anything could happen, and if you want to watch the drama unfold, it's here on ITV, live at 8 o'clock.
All right, Simon Harrison. Just to reiterate what Simon was saying, you can see Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt go head-to-head in Britain's next Prime Minister. The ITV debate tonight, right here on ITV at 8 p.m. Next tonight, both candidates fighting to be our next Prime Minister say their preference is to leave the European Union with a deal in place, but they're also leaving open the possibility that we leave without a deal. Our political correspondent Simon Harris has been looking at how this uncertainty is impacting on our universities and the students who go to them.
Graduation, the most important milestone in student life. At Brunel University in West London, the celebrations were in full swing. But Brexit is casting a cloud of uncertainty over the campuses of London's 40-plus universities. There are concerns about the impact of no deal on tuition fees and visas. Elena is from Romania, Desislav from Bulgaria, both as students at Brunel's business school.
When the Brexit vote happened, they keep talking about how they want to decrease the immigrants, especially more from Eastern European countries, and that was the moment when I feel like targeted, and I felt kind of unwelcomed here.
Actually, we're not sure what will be our opportunities here in terms of jobs, in terms of whether we'll be able to settle our life here, and what will happen, whether we want to do a master's degree or even further postgraduate education.
London's university student population is thought to be around 389,000. The majority, 271,000, are from the UK, but there are also 118,000 non-UK students.
International students bring their own creative energy, their academic excitement, all those wonderful qualities that a diverse student body needs. So they're critically important to London's universities.
London and London higher education have flourished because we welcome students from around the world.
This was Boris Johnson 7 years ago on a visit to India. The then mayor wanted the government to relax its strict rules on student visas. But Boris Johnson's priority now is Brexit.
We must simultaneously prepare to come out without a deal.
At Brunel, they're trying their best to plan for the future without knowing what that future is.
We are continuing to attend recruitment fairs and maintain a presence across a range of European countries, and also to convey the message to students that they are welcome here, and we are committed to having an inclusive student population at Brunel, and quite a diverse student population.
Brunel, of course, could always ask for help from its local MP. He happens to be Boris Johnson. It's not just students here wondering what the future holds.
Well, Simon joins us now from the late debate studio in Westminster. Simon, the Tory leadership race, not the only competition in town, is it?
No, Lucrezia, on the late debate, we'll discuss the leadership contest, but not the Conservative one. No, we'll look at the one no one's talking about. In just over 10 days' time, the Liberal Democrats will announce the name of the party's new leader to replace Sir Vince Cable. Like the Tories, it's a two-horse contest, and I'll be talking to one of them, Sir Ed Davey, the MP for Kingston and Surbiton.
I'm very worried about the divisions in our country, the rise in hate crime here in London, but also the divisions with left-behind communities and regions where we've seen a lot of inequality. We have to tackle that. If you're a true Remainer, you've got to reach out to the Leave communities and show that we've listened and we will heal our country.
Inevitably, we will also touch on the Conservative contest with Labour MP Emma Dent-Coad, Chris Philp for the Tories and Brexit MEP Lance Foreman. That's the late debate here on ITV after news at 10.
All right, Simon, we'll be watching. Next tonight, the latest crop of Metropolitan Police recruits took part in their passing out parade in Hendon today with high hopes for the future. But the reality of the task facing them was brought into focus yet again last night as another teenager was stabbed to death on the street in South London. A 19-year-old named locally as Kai was attacked in Purley just after 9 p.m. and died on the side of the road, as our correspondent Simon Harris reports.
Flowers for murder victims are not common here. Purley is a far cry from the inner city estates plagued by gang warfare. But the knife crime epidemic has no respect for postcodes, and last night a teenager died in a street fight. Kai Manning, who was 19, collapsed on the pavement.
I would say to parents or friends of other young people who are involved on the edges of gangs or knife crime to please report their concerns, because you could be saving the lives of the young person concerned.
More than 70 Londoners have died a violent death this year. More than half were stabbed. Police officers and paramedics find themselves far too often trying to save lives. Seb Ellis was a Met police officer in South London for a decade, but the strain of coming into contact with so many victims took its toll, and 2 years ago he quit.
It's only when you get home you get time to sort of to break down what's happened, and then that's when you deal with your emotions.
And you come home from a shift like that, literally covered in blood?
Yeah, I've come home with a uniform with blood all over it, where I haven't been able to save someone's life, and it's traumatic.
For new recruits, that's the stark reality of life on the beat in 21st century London. At the Met's training centre in Hendon, there's a passing out parade every 6 weeks. Another 230 rookies reached this milestone today, wondering what lies ahead.
Training prepares you for as much as it can. However, getting out on the street and actually doing it is a different feeling.
I have a job to do to help others, to preserve life, and basically just to do my job to the best that I can do it.
During training, you have emergency service training in terms of life support skills. It's something that you do think about, and actually it's part of the job. To preserve life is our number one goal.
The Commissioner was at Hendon today to meet the new recruits and to see herself captured on canvas in an oil painting to mark a century of women in the Met.
It has been a horrible couple of weeks for some communities and, of course, for some families. And my homicide detectives are doing everything they can to find the people who've perpetrated the crimes, and indeed other detectives working on other violent crime.
The violence in Purley left one teenager dead and 2 others injured. 3 teenagers have been arrested. Simon Harris, ITV News.